to be very unorthodox today. I'm going to walk around and talk so everybody can hear, because I found out that half of our owners are semi-deaf. Go ahead and raise your hand and see who you are. So with all that said, we have a quorum established. We're well past the number that we need. We'll get the exact number after the ladies in front total it all up. So we're going to call the meeting together right now at 9:05, and we're going to begin with a blessing. I'm going to ask our owner, Sharon Schumer, of 2601, just a real fine human being, to bless our property, bless our owners, bless this meeting, and we'll begin with her.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, Almighty God, we thank you for this day that you have made. On this Veterans Day and Remembrance Day, we thank you for all men and women who have served in the armed forces. Thank you for our country and the freedoms that we have. And now for this morning and our annual meeting, we ask for your presence and for your wisdom. We ask for your good, clear communication in all that we hear, see, and speak. We ask for your truthfulness and your harmony and unity. We thank you for Orange Beach, Alabama, and for Phoenix on the Bay, too. Thank you for each person here this morning, and thank you for each person who comes to our building and our property, who lives here and who works here. We thank you for our Homeowners Association and for our board. We need you today, Lord, and we are trusting you. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Because we do have a lot to be grateful for, it all goes back to our veterans and all of you that have served in our armed forces, and even have served in our police and fire department and the home front. So we want to acknowledge that by a pledge of allegiance and remembrance that as a nation, we're founded under certain principles. And so if you don't mind, we'll all stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. And Dave Cobb, who's also served, is holding the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the previous annual meeting minutes. Now, we've done something unique and have tried to encourage our owners to be as informed as possible. We've got a great website. We are constantly uploading it with all the current information. Even when we have quarterly board meetings, you get the agenda, you get the minutes, so you stay informed if you will bother to look at it. But having said that, the annual minutes are on that website and they have been available for a year to look at. Does anyone have anything that they have viewed on the minutes that they remember as being incorrect? So with there being no changes to the minutes that were reflected from last year's owners meeting, can I have a motion on the floor to accept the minutes as presented? By the way, if y'all will, identify your unit and your name so Jan will have it for the records, because it is being recorded, so try to say it a little loud.
Linda Webb, Unit 2204. I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Can I have a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Dick Tersey. All in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, the next thing we're going to have on our agenda is the financial report. I'd like to introduce to you Patrick Northcutt. He is with the accounting firm in Foley that has been in business for quite some time, and he's going to present our accounting report. He's got to be somewhere pretty quick, but he's kind of long-winded, so if he gets too long-winded, I'll just throw something at him.
That's true. I'm the antithesis of a normal accountant CPA. I talk probably too much.
You got to speak up a little bit, Patrick.
I will. I'm Patrick Northcutt. I'll be pointing to things here in just a minute. I am with Johnson Slaughter Driver in Northcutt. We've been in business since 1960, so this is our 57th year in existence as a CPA firm in the Gulf Coast area. We have numerous clients, condo associations that we handle the monthly bookkeeping for. We have others we do the audits for. We have yet a third group that we do just the tax returns for. So we have familiarity up and down the coast with condo associations and all the different facets thereof. I'm going to start going through some items on your balance sheet. These numbers are yours. You, the association, this is all a result of y'all's dues, your fees, and your willingness to pay it. Cash. These are all as of October 31st. I need a laser pointed on. October 31st, which was literally, what, 11 days ago, you guys had $923,000 in checking accounts and money market accounts. The money market accounts are here, the Service First, NBC, and one Bryant Bank account. The money market accounts are your capital reserve accounts. They are approximately $640,000 in those capital reserve accounts. Your operating accounts have $280,000 in them as of that day, October 31st, 11 days ago. Let me elaborate a little bit. On a weekly, often daily basis, we interact with Ms. Jane or Pam in relation to paying bills for all of you, for your association. They stay absolutely on top of the expenses that go out of this association. If something looks too expensive, they question it. If a contract's too high, they scrutinize it, get bids, see if we can do better. Same level of service, maybe at a cheaper price. I have complete confidence in their ability to monitor the money that goes out of y'all's association for your benefit. Accounts receivable, only $11,000. This association has an annual budget, Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, of over $1 million. To have 11,000 sitting in receivables in any given time is about 1%. So any of you that ran your own businesses before, whatever you did or do, if you keep your receivables at 1%, you're doing pretty good. That's an extremely low amount. If somebody gets behind, as some people may know, the board gets pretty aggressive in pursuing those monies. If we have to, liens are filed so that when condos are sold, those monies are collected. Can you bring this up for me just a tad? The whole sheet? Perfect, perfect. The next component of y'all's balance sheet that I want to discuss is what's called prepaid assets, other current assets right here. It's made up of prepaid elevator, fire, insurance, and telephone. What are prepaids? Prepaids are things that affect a period longer than a month. The largest expense this association has is property insurance, correct? 6 to 9 months ago, Pam called me and said, we're going to revisit our property insurance. We think we can do better on the rate for at least the same level of coverage, and I believe that went up. I said, okay, that's great. Check it out. What they were able to negotiate, the board, this is all the board, was a 2-year property insurance amount. Not 1 year, 2 years. So they locked in the rate that you guys will pay for property insurance till June of 2019. So what does that mean? What happened to the west of us? Harvey goes in, devastation. What happened to the right of us? Irma goes up Florida, devastation. Your property insurance rate is locked in for 2 years, meaning whatever happens as a result, we have no crystal ball, whatever happens as a result of those devastating billions of dollars that are being paid out in claims won't affect y'all for 2 years. Most associations I have 1 year contracts. So June of 2018, they will be dealing with possibly, we don't know, substantial premium increases. Y'all won't, because you're locked in for 2 years. The second element on the insurance I want you to understand. Most associations have to borrow money to pay their insurance premiums. They may not have the financial flexibility or the cash to write one big check and pay those monies out, $200,000 to $300,000 a year. This association, with those cash monies I referred to above, had significant reserves. The board decided, instead of borrowing money anywhere from a 3 to a 12% rate, insurance companies will finance you, but their rates are usually high. Let's use our own money. Let's don't pay interest. Let's use our own money, pay that rate for 2 years, save that interest. I said, that sounds good to me. So the board made a decision to pay the insurance policy for 2 years on the property insurance out of your own reserves. You don't owe anybody anything for those insurance payments. Accounts payable, $22,000. That fluctuates daily. The invoices that I pay weekly for this association are high. Everything costs a lot of money, as y'all well know. $22,000 was on October 31st. That's the amount of money y'all owe landscaper or water bill, what have you. Prepaid dues, fees, and assessments. That is comprised of folks in this room, or folks not in this room, who have paid their dues in advance. Some of you choose to pay them 6 months, a year, 3 months in advance. That's fine. That's appreciated. But those monies, until we get to the month they apply to, they're a liability. Because you've paid it to us, but we haven't got to the month in which it applies to yet. So there's several of you folks that have prepaid your dues for several months, and that's sitting right there at $45,000. Scroll up just a little bit more. Oh, perfect. For 2000, through the 10 months ended 10/31/2017, the net income for your association is right at $150,000. Which means that the decisions that are being made to expend money must be being made fairly wisely. Once again, I go back to, and I've got to brag a little bit, I go back to Pam and Jane primarily. I work with the other board, but primarily with those two. The oversight they exhibit, the constant looking at everything, is something that I don't get to see with the other associations that I currently do the monthly bookkeeping for. I'll just be honest with you. If they scrutinize their personal accounts as much as they do y'all's money, that's impressive, because everything is looked at. The answer is, I understand. Yeah, I understand the spouse says no. So at this point, you guys have total equity in your association of almost $1.2 million as of 10/31/2017. I'll take any questions. At this point, I don't have anything else. I just want to give you brief highlights of the financial statement. Are there any questions by anybody?
Patrick, let our owners know that every month we're paying back a percentage of that
Yeah.
insurance for capital reserve.
Good point. The monies I referred to earlier, when the insurance premium came due, we borrowed it from other accounts within your association. Pam says, well, we're going to pay that back. So every month, I write a check for $16,833 to move from the operating account to one of the capital reserve accounts to repay that insurance premium that y'all borrowed from yourself. So that we're building back up your capital reserve account to where it was before we paid the second year's insurance premium out of it. So you're repaying yourself, basically.
Anybody got any questions, comments, Danny?
Yes, sir.
How do we stack up against other associations, in your opinion,
Financially,
financially?
top of the chart. Honest answer. To the point of where I would like to be able to mimic some of the managerial functions here with other associations. They just don't have the money coming in. You guys pay good dues, as you all know, but that money is not spent incorrectly or unwisely. So from a financial perspective, from a balance sheet perspective of looking at POBII 2 versus other associations, some of them smaller, inherently will have smaller numbers. You guys are in great financial shape.
Later on in the meeting, you're gonna see, remember these numbers. Later on in the meeting, you're gonna see where we started 2 years ago. And the things that were said about us that would happen in the future if the association was managed by itself. So remember these numbers, and I'm gonna show you where we were 2 years ago.
I got it.
Yes, sir.
Since that insurance payment is such a large amount, what insurance company is that with, and are they reputable?
Yeah, okay, Pam, she can tell you that name right off the top of your head. I'm gonna defer to her.
As a matter of fact, he's here today. He's going to be speaking with you. He's USI Insurance. What's so incredible about their organization is they bring far more to the table than any other insurance company we've ever had here. We have got better coverage. We have more bells and whistles than we have ever had. We've got more coverage than we ever had. Plus, in addition to that, they offer an association advisory council free of charge. I have an issue. I want to know what's the best way to resolve it. I pick up the phone, I call Rick, and I say, here's what I'm dealing with. What is the way we can get this resolved? They're very familiar with our Declaration of Condominiums. He knows them verbatim. He knows the Condominium Act, and so I have free counsel on top of everything else. So they are a great asset to this association. Not only that, but the other insurance companies that we've had in the past have all been commission-based. There's no real incentive to give us a great policy if it's based on commission. He is fee-based. He wants to keep his job, so he brings us the best policy that is out there in the market so he can keep his job. And so, having said that, I hope that answers your question.
Well, like I said, with all the claims that are being made towards insurance companies now, we just want to make sure that they're financially sound, especially since we've got that much money out there that's sitting out there.
And I'll let him answer that question.
That's a good point. Good point. Of course, when the contract was negotiated, the premium for 2 years, it was unbeknownst to anybody. This was before even hurricanes hit in the right beginning. So what happened, transpired, was not able to foresee. Anyway, but it is a good question. That gentleman's here and he can elaborate more.
And you got to remember too, the markets are all the same regardless of what insurance company's writing them. The market, the big insurance companies are all the same. You just have the whole market to choose from and work each insurance company against itself to get the best policy. These are all AAA or whatever rated companies that we went with, but I'll let him explain all that, and I won't speak about it.
I believe so, Pam.
Yes.
Yes, once again, he can, is he here?
Yes, I'm going to put him on next because he's also got to be somewhere else.
Gotcha. Good question.
Any more questions for
Any final-
finances?
Yes. Please.
You want to speak on the budget so we can go ahead and vote on our budget? Or anything that you see that the budget is got any issues that you feel like is an issue?
I don't foresee any issues. You're going to discuss some of the things you want to do, you foresee needing to be done, repairs, et cetera. I don't, the budget, I mean, should be similar to last year, I assume, Pam.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to add on the budget per se at this point unless anybody has a question.
All right, if there are no more questions, we'll thank Patrick for coming today, and we'll release him to go to his next engagement.
Yeah.
Thank you,
y'all very
Patrick.
much.
He
Appreciate
is
it.
great to work with. All right, we're going to skip around a little bit on the agenda because we have Rick Manasco here, who is our insurance agent. He can answer your question better than I can. And he's also got someplace else to be, so we're trying to get these folks in that need to get in and out. Oh, you want the lights on?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rick Manasco. I'm with USI Insurance Services out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Roll Tide. My firm was originally Duckworth Morris. We were founded in 1867, and we sold our practice a few years ago, actually to Wells Fargo, then Wells Fargo has since sold to USI. And we're one of the top 5 national brokers in the U.S. And I'm pleased to be down here. I own a condo here in Orange Beach and have for about 17 years. Myself and a couple other guys in my firm, we do a lot of business along the Gulf Coast, and people ask, well, why did you take your insurance to someone out of town? Well, good question, but we know the market. We also do not handle thousands of complexes down here. We handle a select number, and our service is impeccable. We were here after Ivan, the day after Ivan hit. We flew over all the properties that we handle here. 3 days after Ivan, I was on property with an adjuster with a checkbook. And that is what has separated me from everybody else. And most of the business that I handle down here, that's how I got it, was because of my service. A little bit about what Patrick said. When I was first brought in to engage to look at the insurance a couple of years ago, one of the things that we brought to the table that is different, and Pam, it was a new concept at that point, which is we work on a fee basis. I'm an independent broker. We represent all the companies that you can imagine, but my philosophy is to bring to you the very best product that's available at the most competitive price for whatever it may be, and I'm going to charge you X number of dollars, and that's it. The one thing that I brought to the table when we first started was an opportunity which was unique, which was we would do a 2-year policy, which you did. First time around, we did that. And then we did some financing to help do that. And today, I'm standing up in front of you again to say to you, we renewed again for another 2-year policy, which is going to be a very blessing for you, because right now, just in Florida alone, there's going to be in excess of $5 billion of losses down there. So insurance, those of you can imagine, insurance is a spread of risk. So the insurance companies take insurance here and they go all the way across the country, spreading the risk so they can bring you a product and be competitive with it. With that being said, with the losses in Florida, the losses in Texas, the wildfires in California, the earthquakes in Mexico, insurance rates are going to go up. We've already starting to see some of the indications. Really won't know until the first of the year what type of real increases we're going to see, because insurance companies buy insurance on themselves as well, and those are called reinsurance contracts, and most of the time those are renewed in January and then again in July. So the ones that we're indicating now on January is going to have somewhere between a 10 to a 20% increase based upon where you're located, construction, losses, and things of that nature. But fortunately for your association, we went in and did 2-year guaranteed products, so you've got coverage for 2 years with no increase on the property side. So that is a real good point, and I'm pleased that we did that. I'm pleased that y'all chose me to work and do that for you. And one of the things that I do when we talk is try to make sure that everyone is understanding what guides an association, and what guides the association from an insurance standpoint is the same thing that guides your board as direction of what they can and cannot do. And that is your condo docs in the 1991 Alabama Condo Act. And those of you that are not familiar with your condo docs, you can go online and get your condo docs. You go to www.baldwincountyalabama.al.gov, and you can go in and click and you can pull those up. And it's your Bible. It tells you exactly what you can and can't do, and it lays out specifics for everything. It tells you how the insurance is supposed to be done. Insurance is supposed to be written at the full replacement cost, which is what we do. Well, I'm not an expert on how much it costs to build a building like you have here, nor is Pam, the rest of your board. So what we did, we recommended that the board go out and secure an appraisal. And this is not a real estate appraisal. This is a rebuild type of appraisal. And you did this on December 11th, 2016, which gives us a guideline on what we should insure and how much the construction cost is for this type of property. And this is a program that you will continue going forward, and that's the best thing you can do, because certainly you do not want to be underinsured should there be a loss. And we've done our insurance policy to reflect this appraisal. In addition to the insurance that we have here, we identified a couple other things that I thought was important that the association should consider, especially since we were able to carve out some savings in a couple of areas. And one of those things we did is we put a pollution policy in force. And a lot of people don't quite understand what your pollution can be, but there's a lot of factors here that can happen, from your lazy river to Legionnaires' disease in your water system, things like that. But the other thing that's real important, since Ivan, insurance companies have changed their coverage policies. And in your coverage policies, after we had Ivan, if you had the big M-word mold or some sort of pollutant caused from the damage that Ivan caused in your building, that was considered part of the regular wind claim. Well, now insurance companies have gone back and they've carved out and they've put a specific limit of insurance in there for mold or pollutants, which is a very token amount. Most contractors, when they are dealing with a rebuild of a building, they're going to bring in experts to make sure that they have remedied everything and closed those loopholes up. Well, we have a pollution policy that will kick in should we have that in this building, should it be damaged, to help offset that cost, which is another added coverage that your board and Pam and I worked on and got and put in place, which I think is very, very important. The other thing that Pam mentioned a little bit ago was something that I do that's probably unique to what I offer down here, and that is someone that is familiar with your condo docs as well as the 1991 Alabama Condo Act. Your condo docs specifically state that the Condo Act will trump anything in the condo docs. Pretty simple. And also in the Condo Act and as your docs, it states that the association's insurance shall always be first and foremost to respond to any and all claims, even if the unit owner has a policy or there's another policy in force of that like kind. The reason that is in there is because it gives the charge to your board to go ahead and make a quick and responsive repair should a damage occur here, because you don't want it to go over to other units and do some affecting some of the other parts of the building, because the unit owner was an absentee unit owner, didn't know, they couldn't get somebody to come in and fix it, do whatever. You have this Condo Act provides the board the flexibility of taking the immediate steps and handling that issue right there. Also, in your condo docs, there is a particular section that I want to point out, and it's section 16.01. And those of you that would like to go in and pull up your own condo docs, I would recommend you might want to read this. And it's talking about negligence, and this is for a unit owner. And it states that a unit owner shall be liable for the expense of any maintenance, repair, or replacement rendered necessary by his act, negligence, or carelessness, or by that of any member of his family, or his or their guests, employees, agents, or lessees, but only to the extent that such expense is not met by the proceeds of insurance carried by the association. Such liability shall include an increase in fire insurance rates occasioned by use, misuse, occupancy, abandonment of a unit or its appurtenance. So what this is saying is that if you have a guest in your unit, they've been out too long at night, and they come back in and they try to take a long soaking bath, and they turn the bathtub water on, and they let it run, they go fall asleep. That's a negligent act. All
We've
of you
had that
should,
happen, by the way.
all of you
Yes,
should
we
be
have.
held responsible for that. But the damage that that water overflow causes triggers the association to step forward, take care of the issues. And by doing that, then you go back to the unit owner for their negligence. And then you're able to go back to that unit owner and collect what is not paid for by the association's insurance, which basically is going to be your deductible and other things that you all have adopted here that will give you the freedom to collect from your unit owner. You know, and believe me, this, you're not unique by having this out. They have it up and down the beach, and I do this all the time. To bring that about, also in your in the Condo Act and in your docs, also it states that, you know, if we have a casualty loss here, the master insurance policy is only going to pay for the repair or replacement of the unit as it was originally built. So even though this is a fairly new complex, those of you probably have gone in and done some upgrades. You may have changed out your countertops to, you know, expensive marble or something like that. And if you did and you have a loss in there, the association's insurance is only going to be responsible to pay for what was originally put in there, not what you've upgraded the interior to be. Now, what you do as a unit owner, you purchase your own personal insurance to cover your condo, and that's called an HO6. And that policy is to cover you from your contents, such as your sofa, your TVs, and things like that. Also, your liability should someone get injured in your unit, that the association would not have any kind of negligence, because the trigger liability has to be negligence on the association's part. But if a guest is injured inside your unit for whatever reason, they're going to come back against you as the unit owner, and you need to have liability to protect you from that standpoint. Then you also put in what we call improvements and betterments or upgrades. That is where you put a dollar amount of insurance in place to cover that marble countertop instead of the one that was originally built here. And the other thing that you do is if you are, you know, it's the loss of use or your lack of, if you're renting it, you know, loss of rental income. So those are just some of the things that I always try to make people aware of that come to these, that may or may not understand exactly why they need to have their own personal insurance or what the master policy is going to take and cover. The last thing I'll bring up is the gentleman's question over there, who do we have the coverage with? To write property insurance on the Gulf Coast, they're all going to be excess and surplus lines companies. We do not have any admitted companies in the state of Alabama that will write property insurance down here. So we're going to have an excess and surplus lines company on that. And to be quite honest with you, there's only about a handful of companies that are willing to write down here and to write the coverages that we need. And with the recent storm activity, we'll see if there's any those players drop out, which I fully suspect they will. But again, we locked in the property, which also we have some coverage for your pool and some of the amenities out here, as well as the structure here. We have a 3% deductible for wind, and which is kind of standard here. A few years ago, the minimum wind deductible we could get was 5%. Most of it was from 5 to 10%. We've been able to negotiate that down, and can get that lower so you show desire. But your property is so well constructed. When we were talking about that, we all agreed that it probably would be a safe bet for you to take the chance on the higher wind deductible than to try to buy it down. But that is always something that we'll bring to the table each and every time. That's pretty much what I have to say. I will be happy to answer any questions anyone has, to the best of my ability. Yes, sir.
Just qualify, on the construction upgrades, is there any difference made between if the upgrade was made during construction as opposed to since the building was finished?
No, sir.
So it's actually not just since construction, it really would be any upgrade over what was basic to the building, regardless of when it was done?
Yes.
I like to refer to the Condo Act, even though I know it pretty much. I'm going to tell you what it exactly says. It says, in the case of a building containing units that have horizontal boundaries described in the declaration, the insurance maintained under subdivision A1, to the extent reasonably available, must include the units, but need not include improvements and betterments installed by unit owners. So that's the Condo Act that specifically states that no, if you as a unit owner have made improvements in your unit, no. Now, if there is something done to upgrade that was done by the association for the common areas and of the structure, it would be covered and it would be picked up under this part, which is your appraisal.
I think that's what I remember. I know I had a problem one time, and I think even the ceiling or whatever, they, as I understood it, they only would reimburse what was put in by the builder, even though you had it done during construction. They would not pay you on that. They would only pay you on what the base package was in that room.
That is
what
correct.
you were saying?
That is
Okay.
correct, yes, sir.
Great.
That's why it's very important if you do any improvements or changes out in your unit that you identify a dollar amount and either know that you're going to be out of pocket that or have it under your insurance policy. Yes, sir.
Just not necessarily an insurance question, but are there any pre-arrangements with reputable contractors and things? We have a good cash reserve and we have good capital assets, so we should be in a position to get, if there is a loss or damage, get some reputable people in here ahead of all the other condos up and down the beach that aren't in such a good financial position. I'm just wondering if there's any.
I believe your association has been your board has been very proactive and already has a contractor signed up, which is what we recommend all the time. I'll give you the example I know firsthand. After Ivan, the number one contractor down along the coast at the time was C Sharp. And David Sharp had more condos than he could actually get to and do business with. And so we engaged with David and brought in 6 different general contractors from Tuscaloosa down here to help do the rebuild. And then I engaged with some contractors out of Birmingham as well as Gadsden to come in and do some through David, because he's the one that had the contract with all the associations. Since then, most associations have decided they should not depend on that kind of guy, go out and get their own and have that prearranged up front, so you'll know exactly who's going to be your contractor working here, because everybody thought they were going to have C Sharp out here and ended up having Hudak Dawson or Paul Taylor or Amison or someone like that came in and did the work. So that is something that we strongly recommend, and your board has already done that.
Yeah, in answer to your question, we have a contract with C Sharp every year, which we sign with him. He does not charge us anything. That he is certified to be our repair contractor in the event of a named storm.
Any other questions on it? You don't get to ask.
You were talking about the liability issue, and that's a good point. We supposedly have 4 commercial units here. Are they insured as well?
Glad you brought that up. We wrote a letter on the 28th of June to Pam as the board president, asking that, now I'm sure you're speaking of Brett Robinson.
Yes.
To provide proof of insurance and name Phoenix Inland Bay 2 Owners Association as additional insured. We have yet to receive that, and that is a strong recommendation that we make, that you should have that, because it is their liability in their area should they have an issue there. And this is something that we've also worked with with Pam and the board to say that any contractor coming in and doing work on your behalf in your unit, they should have a certificate of insurance of at least $1 million and name the association as additional insured. Because you don't want to have a contractor to come in your unit and do work and then leave, everything looks great, and 6 months later, he has taken a nail and gone through the sheetrock and it hit a pipe, water pipe, and it takes 6 months for that nail to corrode and rust out, and you start having water damage. That shouldn't be your individual unit owner's responsibility, nor the association. It is the responsibility of that contractor, so we ask that. We use that same terminology to go to Brett Robinson because they are actively working in your complex here. They have commercial units, and they should not go without having the insurance and put the association's additional insured, which would give the association protection under their policy, not the association have to step forward.
I think we've got some representatives from Brett Robinson. I would like to see that addressed. Maintenance room's got cats in it. Somebody could trip and break the neck.
Again, you know, the association liability insurance is here to protect the association for negligent acts upon the association, not the negligent acts on the unit owner inside their unit. And so it is imperative that you as an association give your board the ability to make sure that is all being taken care of.
Any other questions for Rick on insurance? I'm going to share something with you he did not. And today I'm going to be sharing a lot of things with you you need to know and you don't know. The board knows a lot of information that we have made decisions based on the information that we find that we feel like is the best decision to safeguard the property, safeguard you as owners and investors. So one of the things Rick did not tell you was that when we got the appraisal in December of 2016, appraisals cost about $2,500. But in my review of our records, and by the way, I have looked at every single piece of paper about our history. Every invoice, every check that's been written. I've looked through almost, how many thousands of pages of discovery documents, Jessica? 10,000 pages of discovery documents. I know more about our history. I know more about what's happened here than anybody in this room. And I don't think I should be just keeping that information to myself. You owners have a right to know. One of the things that we found out when we decided to spend the money to get a current appraisal, and insurance companies want an appraisal that's no longer than 3 years old. So every 3 years we need to get an update. I remembered in looking through all of our records that in 2013 we paid for an appraisal. Now, when we got our records, they didn't give us the appraisal, but I remembered seeing the invoice. So I went back and looked for the invoice and found the name of the company that did the appraisal. So I called them up and asked them what an update would cost, $750. Great, we're going to save some money here. Called them up and asked them, would you do an update of our appraisal that you did in 2013? We get the appraisal, and I'm looking at it. I'm going, oh my God, we've gone up $10 million in value in 3 years. That's amazing. There's no way that happened. Shared it with Rick. We are underinsured by $10 million. How did that happen? All we did was copy what Brett Robinson had been insuring us for all these years. So I call the insurance company back and the appraisal company, I said, will you send us a copy of the original appraisal, and who did you send it to? They sent it to me, and it was sent to Keith Jiskra, our association manager. Keith Jiskra, our association manager, is the one that secured our insurance all these years, signed off on it. He knowingly underinsured us by $10 million, which is a violation of the Condominium Act. So here we are faced with the fact that we now know we're underinsured. We're required by the Condominium Act and our declarations to insure us for the value. We didn't have that in our budget. Well, we got to do it. So what Rick didn't tell you was we got additional insurance for $10 million, bringing us up to where we're supposed to be. He brought a policy to the, he was able to negotiate and get that coverage in an amount that we could afford to pay. So again, continuously, the obstacles that we have had to overcome and the things that were done to this association was done without us being aware of it. That's not a reflection on the previous board. The previous board, as us, would believe that if our management company represents to us this is what the appraisal says, then that's what the appraisal should say. That's not what happened. So I want you to be aware of the fact that we were underinsured by $10 million for a number of years. We're now properly insured, and we have greater coverage on our amenities than we have ever had. Because it's like Rick said, our damage is not going to be to this building. Our damage is going to be to our amenities. This building is going to stand. It's well built, and I will not take that away from the developers. They did a very good job of building a really good, fine quality building, which is why we have fought so hard to restore it. It's worth restoring, and it's worth having and investing in. So with that said, I want you to know that about the insurance.
One other thing I failed to mention, thank you, Pam, but that is in your bylaws, and this, I bring this up simply because of a recent action here. Bylaws, Exhibit D, 7.04, right of entry. It says the manager or any person authorized by the board of directors shall have the right to enter each unit in case of any emergency originating in or threatening such unit, whether or not the owner or occupant, when so required. So, those of you that you or your rental agency changes out the locks on your doors, it is your responsibility to make sure that the association has access to your unit. And I can tell you, not just your association, but other ones that I handle, if you change rental agencies or the season has changed, they want to come back and change out the locks because they say, oh, too many keys are floating around or whatever. They'll change out the lock. They will never give a key to the association board so the management company can go in and do what needs to be done. And that is imperative that you do that and make sure that you, when you're talking with your real estate company that's renting your unit for you, or you yourself, you need to make sure you pass that on. If not, that is negligence on your part as well as that rental agency. It is clearly defined in your conduct docs here. And if you don't do that, it's your nothing. And like I told you, if you don't believe me, go on the website yourself, pull it up. You can get every one of these things. You can read them. It's out for public knowledge. What I have provided today is public knowledge for everyone, and everyone that owns should have this. You should have this, because when what I do, when Pam calls me up, when we have discussions about things. I refer back, I know them pretty good, I know where they are. I keep a separate file on each of the condos that I do where I can highlight, and I got tabs, and I can pretty much go right to it. And, but that's what, that's the advice I pass on to you. And it's something that you really need to make arrangements to take care of.
Any other questions for Rick before he leaves? All right, Rick, thanks for coming. We appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to scoot back real quick to the under the budget, excuse me, under the agenda where you had the financial report. I'm just going to give a quick talk. There's a lot of things I want you to hear and see today. Nothing I'm going to tell you, you're not going to see on the screen. But remember, the financial condition that we are in, but there's more than just those numbers show. When we took this building over in July of 2015, what we found was that we were financially broke and physically broke. There was so much wrong with this property, and once we began to find out what all was wrong, even I got concerned that it could be fixed. But nowhere in my DNA is the word quit. In fact, the greater the challenge, the more determined I become. And one of the greatest assets to turn this property around was you, the owners. You bought in, you came on board, and we had a great board, and we were unified. Had that not happened, no matter what I believed we could do, no matter what I wanted to do, or even encourage you to do, could have been done. So I want to applaud y'all because y'all had to buy in. But having said that, what we found when we took over was we had approximately $139,000 spendable cash in our operating account and also in our capital reserve. We had a water bill that month of $8,000 because we were losing 1 million gallons of water a month somewhere. We had our indoor dehumidifying and cooling in our indoor pool. It was broke, it was gone. It didn't even live to half of its life expectancy. To replace it with $70,000, $75,000. We had air conditioning systems that were out. We had so many things wrong, I didn't know which one to start with first. I said, well, we're just going to be like a MASH unit, so let's just stop the bleeding first, and then we'll fix the broken bones. Long story short, we found the water leak was in our lazy river. We had 5 to 6 broken pipes, 3 to 6 feet underground. We had no schematics to know where those pipes were. Martin came up with a very ingenious and inventive way to locate by pressurizing lines. We had one time, we had a geyser shoot up through concrete. We got it on video, it was interesting to watch. But we found the pipes, we fixed them, and immediately our water bill dropped to half. We also found that we had to make a gutsy decision on something that hadn't been tried before. We didn't have the money, we didn't have no choice. We had to get the dehumidifying system fixed in the indoor pool. We couldn't afford this Dectron, which, by the way, is not the best product for this area. It's made in Canada. We got too much humidity down here for it to work efficiently. So we came up with this, or I say we, Martin and another company here came up with a system. He said they'd been wanting to try it for 10 years, but nobody had the guts to try it. Guts wasn't it, money was it. So, well, let's try it. It cost us $14,500 to put this system in. The first year, we saved $12,000 on our electricity bill. It's paid for. If it goes out tomorrow, we'll do it again because it pays for itself in a little over a year. It's quiet. I don't know if y'all remember how loud the old one was. It's quiet, the air is dry, and it works. So there are so many things that we did to the property. We did all that. We also found out that we have a preconditioning air system in the lobby. You know how the doors open up, lets in all the hot or lets in the cold, and then the air conditioning systems have to reverse everything to get it back like it's supposed to be? Also lets in humidity. This other system that we had, didn't realize it's nowhere in the minutes that it wasn't working. The last service thing on that machine was 2014. It's been broke. It was allowing moisture to stay in the lobby, which if you look at the metal in the bathroom walls, or the frame, was rusting. Because the humidity was staying trapped in the lobby and couldn't leave. So he said, well, what does that system cost to fix? $14,000. I said, well, can we take the compressor off the thing we tried to fix and put it in that one? He said, yeah, we could put the compressor in that one. So we had a $6,000 compressor we now have a use for. So the company goes in there to put the compressor in, only to find out it's been robbed of parts. Somebody had been cannibalizing that machine to take those parts to another property because those parts couldn't be bought anymore. So not only does the compressor we have for $6,000 not be used, but we got to buy a whole new system. So we did. $14,000. We did all of this in the operating accounts. We did not touch capital reserve. Those are all capital reserve improvements. But we used money that we saved in operating. Jane and I and our board, if you take women and put them in Washington, we will balance the budget. We will get rid of all the wasteful spending, and this country would be a whole lot better off. You just put women in it, okay? So Jane and I have this competition. Where can we save money the most? These curtains right here, we bought them, Overstock.com, Labor Day weekend, 70% off. So we look for ways to save money. When we save money, we go, okay, now where can we spend that money over here because it's in the budget? Let's find a way to improve it. Just like this asphalt out here that's been sealed, we got it out of the operating budget because we saved money over here. The painting in the dock, I mean, all these things, wherever we can save money that's in the budget, we figure out where can we apply it right now to increase the value of this property, to increase the amenities and aesthetics of it. So there's tons of things that we've done that I could sit here and list to you. So, okay, we got 3 new air conditioners, we got one in the elevator room, we got one in the transformer room. They got 12-year warranty, so we're not looking at replacing those for so many years. I mean, we have been building for our future. That all this we have done in the operating budget for the last 2 years. Those are all capital improvements. So really and truly, we have more assets than even that numbers reflect, because what we've done is we've not repaired anything. We're through repairing. It's 10 years. It's time to replace. So we've been replacing these items. And another thing on when we're on budget is talk about the audit report. Now, I personally, before we came on the board, I never saw our annual audit. The board did, but I as an owner never saw it. We committed to you to be transparent. If you want to know what the checks are being written for, we'll show you. You want to know anything other than somebody being behind on their dues, we'll show you. Everything is on our website. Now, Rick said about you can get this online, but we have it, it's available for you. It's www.phoenixonthebay.ii, and it's all lowercase, that's why it looks like an I.com. It's password protected, password is Lighthouse, capital L. Everything you want to know about our history is there. The Condominium Act, by the way, I'm going to explain to you real simple terms what the Condominium Act is. We all know what the Constitution of the United States is, right? Okay, every state can make their own laws, but if it violates the Constitution, the laws can't stand. The Condominium Act is our Constitution. So if the Declaration of Condominium violates that act, it can't stand. So that's just to give you a kind of an elementary understanding of all that. All of that is on the website. Budget's on the website, minutes are on the website, agenda's on the website, our financial audit is on the website. There's nothing hidden from you. The financial audit of 2016 had 3 findings on it. One of them was we had too much money by about, I think it was $7,000 or $9,000 in one of our capital reserves account, which was a violation of the FDIC. You can't have more than $250,000. We moved some money. The other thing was we had several owners, not several, I think it was 2 or 3, that had gone beyond what they should, that need to be turned over to a lawyer. Here's what I believe. I believe unless there's some real evidence of you're just not going to pay them, I'm not sending you to a lawyer. A lot of people, I mean, everybody wants to pay their dues. Obviously, it now shows that you're all very responsible. I'm going to call you up and say, hey, what can we do about working to get you caught up? Because you don't want to be behind either. We worked with our owners and haven't sent anybody to a lawyer. And everybody got caught up. I mean, I don't want to turn our owners against each other or against the board or whatever, because we're all in this together. We sit on this side of the table, but we're y'all. We're owners. We just simply represent y'all. So, as of September, nobody's behind. That's a non-issue. The other finding was that we did not have a capital reserve plan in place. Well, that was last year. We paid a firm called Reserve Advisors. It has 30 engineers employed with that firm. They came here to the property, went over it every square inch, from roof to the curbs, to the lighthouse, to the docks, everything. Wrote a 30-year plan of what we need to be replacing, what's the life cycle in this, anticipate replacing it then, this is probably what it's going to cost, this is how much money you need in capital reserves, right? So we got that in place. That was another thing we paid for this year out of operating. That was $6,500. So we have that That is also available to you to look at on the website. If you want to look at it, it's very interesting reading. I don't agree with some of it because we've already replaced some of the things that they say needs to be replaced because we had to replace it ahead of time because it didn't live out as long as it was supposed to. So having said all that, it gives the board the opportunity to figure out how can we get ahead of our future. Like we had the money to put the ceiling on the asphalt, we bought 3 to 5 years into the future before we have to replace it because we had the money to do it. So we're always looking for ways to get into our future. We're not the here and now, planning into our future. Okay, the only other thing about the budget that you need to know, that we used to always have the option of voting in a capital reserve 10%. That's not an option anymore. The banking institutions now require that there be proof that there is a 10% capital reserve allocation each year in the budget before they will give a loan on a unit. So not only is it fiscally wise to be putting this money aside for your future, but the banks want to make sure that the building's going to always be taken care of before they lend money to somebody to buy one. So it's not an option anymore whether we vote on it to have ourselves an assessment or not. So that's why in this year's budget, it is part of the budget, although we're not making it part of your monthly dues, and I'll tell you why. The money should not be commingled, for one thing. And number two, in order to be compared apples for apples with the other condominiums up and down the beach, nobody else is doing it. They're making a separate assessment for it. And so if I say, well, we're going to add it into our dues, well, when an investor wants to buy your unit, Mr. Wallace, he's going to say, well, there's another unit over there like that, and they're not paying this much dues. I think I'll buy this unit. Well, that's not fair. He's really going to pay the same amount at the end of the year because he's going to make another assessment. So we keep it separate for that reason, and then we'll always have that assessment in September. So that's why this year's budget shows that the assessment's already on there. It's part of the budget, but we're going to elect to collect it one time, in the fall and leave the dues the same. And by the way, I don't know if any of the, and Patrick didn't allude to it, but it's true, I don't know of any other association that's ever reduced dues. We reduced them by 10%. Plus we did all those improvements.
You still have to declare to a buyer that you've got that fee coming regardless.
You do, but whenever
you pay it, the net amount is still the same, right, at the end of the year.
It is, but when people are trying to decide if they've got 3 condominiums they're looking at buying, one of the things that may factor in their decision is the amount of the monthly dues. They don't even care to ask about whether there's special assessments until they sign off on that unit and they get ready to close. That's just what the general conversation is on buyers. But if y'all want to put it in your monthly dues, that's not a problem. But I'm just telling you, that's what happens whenever we get these real estate agents asking. All right, that's about all I want to cover on the budget. We've got a lot to cover. We need to kind of move on. Does anybody have questions about how we spent the money? This next year's budget we're fixing to vote on. Basically, we made a few adjustments in the line items. The amount, the bottom line is still the same. We feel very confident, unless some unexpected, extraordinary expense comes up, which would be a capital reserve expense. We feel very confident that we can continue operating in the high standard that we operate with the budget that we have presented. Anybody have any questions? Does any, I don't see any reason why, if we can have a vote from the floor about accepting the budget, I see no reason why we have to do a ballot vote. Do you? No. All right, can I have a motion from the floor to accept the budget? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I do have one question
Yeah.
on the budget. Typically, budgets are balanced,
Mhm.
and the bottom line is zero. I noticed that we have a $36,000 net income, and could you just explain that?
Well, we needed to have a net income, and we really need to have the flexibility of saying, all right, we're seeing into the future. We believe this is all that this line item is going to run, but there's always some unexpected amount, and we don't ever want to be in a deficit, so that's kind of like a cushion of sorts. And we actually, because if you look at our budget, we have a $50,000 cash carryover. We need to be very mindful at this point, we're ending the end of the year. We got to make sure we have a $50,000 cash carryover. And if we don't, then what we're going to do is have capital reserve, which we refund the operating account, whatever portion is necessary to get to that $50,000 for what we did that was a capital improvement. You see what I'm saying? But that's fine. Any other questions? How about we just get a motion from the floor, we accept the budget for 2018? All right, we got a motion from Rhett, what's your unit number, Rhett?
2704.
2704, that we accept the budget as presented, and we have a second from Linda Webb, unit 2204. All in favor say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the motion to ratify the actions of the board for 2016 and 2017. And I'll need a motion for that, since up to this point you haven't complained too much.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion from Jimmy, what unit we want to claim?
2308.
Jimmy Doyle, he's also a new owner here, he's got two units, he was so satisfied with the first one, he bought a second one. So we have a motion from Jimmy Doyle that we ratify the actions of the board for 2016, 2017, do I have a second?
Second.
2409, has a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, so the next thing we have is we have two positions that are up for election. We have Pete Short's position. We have Bruce Morton's position, which Bruce finished out Peggy DeSherry's term. Peggy had some family issues that she really required all of her attention. Since we moved the owners meeting so late in the year, she asked in the spring if somebody else could fulfill that position, and Bruce Morton stepped up. He's also a full-time resident here. He and his wife Pam sold their home and have made this their full-time resident. It's nice to have full-time residents on the board that can deal with issues in the middle of the night. But anyway, Bruce Morton and Pete Short have both.
Thanks a lot.
I make sure that he knows how to turn the water off in the urinal.
I don't have a cell phone either.
So these positions are not for the faint of heart, but it is an adventure. So if anybody wants to have an adventuresome life, then maybe you want to raise your hand and nominate yourself from the floor to serve on the board. Do we have any nominations from the floor? Because we have had nobody up to this point that wishes to take on this adventuresome lifestyle.
I make a motion, we accept these two gentlemen, I know them. Danny BB, unit 2407.
All right, Danny just said that we close the floor for nominees. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we got Chris Battle, second it, closing the floor for nominees. So y'all didn't speak up quick enough that you wanted to serve on the board. So, okay, we have the nominees for board positions be closed. All in favor say aye. Aye. So by acclamation, we have Pete back on the board. Bruce, you're staying. And listen, I do want to thank them for their service because I require them to work. Because if I got to work, they're going to work. And not only that, but they step up to the plate, and I so appreciate them. Bruce and Robbie, back in the back, they have taken on the understanding of if a sprinkler deploys in the middle of the night at 40 gallons a minute, where do we go to shut the water off so we can stop the damage? They have learned these things. Alarm goes off, go to the Simplex panel, where's the issue? Things like that. These things empower us with the ability to stop the damage to the degree we can stop it until the real people get here. So I thank them for willing to learn all that. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is report of the building state of our condo. I think I've done that already in just a general broad of things. I'm really proud of where we are. I'm proud more than anything else. I told this to Jane last night. I said, you know, Jane, I said, I'm excited where we are financially. I mean, it's a huge amount that we've accomplished. I'm excited where this property is. You pull into the gate, it's beautiful. You go to the back, it's beautiful. But the thing that is the most rewarding thing to me, and all the hours that I've put into this, is to see you, the owners, get to know each other, desire to spend time with each other, look for opportunities to come to this meeting room and hold some kind of a, hey, it's somebody's birthday month, let's go celebrate. You know, and to get together in the evening, that is the most rewarding thing. Because you become a family and a community here that you weren't before. We didn't know our neighbors. And I find that the most rewarding thing is that y'all have elected to do that. So that is kind of the report of the state of our condo. All right, the next that I'm going to go to is introduce to you our lawyer, Jessica McDeal. I want to tell you about Jessica. She is our association lawyer. She represents us in this lawsuit to the degree that we have countersued, and I'm going to get into that. We're going to take a break before that, because you're going to need a break. But she is somebody that I really work so easily with, just because she's a very methodical thinker. She holds her cards close to her chest, but she is always thinking of ways to make us, help us become a better association, and keeps us in the straight and narrow of doing things the right way. And I really appreciate her a lot. She has been a great asset to this association, and I hope she stays with us for years to come. But I want to introduce you to Jessica McDeal. She's with Chasen & Chasen and Bayonet. And she's going to talk today about these door locks. And I'm going to slip a little bit. You know, we're a volunteer board. We volunteer to give up part of our use and enjoyment here so that not only do we benefit, eventually all you benefit. When we cannot get in your unit because we don't have a key, you have tied our hands to where we cannot represent you like we're supposed to, nor can we take care of this property like it needs to be taken care of. All the battles that we have won, this is one we have not won yet, and it shouldn't even be a battle. And you don't truly realize what harm you put yourself in when we can't get in your unit, and what harm you put your neighbors in because we can't get in your unit. First off, I wish we never had to go in your unit, for any reason. But you elected to buy a condo. Your wall is someone else's wall. Your floor is somebody else's ceiling. You don't have the luxury of isolation, like a house. This is a vertical subdivision, wall to wall, with no space in between. So we have to get in your unit because what's going on in your unit is affecting your neighbors. And that's the only reason we need to get in your unit. And when there's a delayed entry, it is more damage to your unit or to your neighbor's unit. So she's going to speak to you about the legal issues that we're having because of our lack of access. Jim?
Do you have units that you can't get into?
These units right here you see on the board, if your unit's up there, we can't get in your unit. And she's going to explain to you what problem that causes you or causes us. Now, there's going to be some of you out there that's going to go, wait a minute, I told Brett Robinson to give y'all a key. Later in this meeting, you're going to find out what we've been dealing with. But I'm just going to tell you, if your unit's up there, we do not have a key to your unit. You're not getting pest control, which you're paying for. And if your neighbor below you says, I got water coming through my ceiling, and we can't get in your unit, and you got a washing machine that's overflowing, which we've had, that's a negligent issue because we can't get in your unit. So that's all I'm going to say. Jessica, I'm going to leave the rest to you.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tam. Pam has asked me to address this morning the door lock issue because it's been sort of a nagging thing as you see here. Picking up on what Rick said, you've got a hierarchy of governing documents that tell the association what it can do, tell you what you can do, and tell each other what your obligations are. And all of those fit together. Under your condominium documents, you, as a unit owner, under Rule 20 of your rules and regulations that have been in place since the beginning of Phoenix on the Bay 2, mandate that you must provide to your association a pass key. Those rules also obligate, not only those rules, but the Declaration, as well as the 1991 Condominium Act, mandate that your association is responsible for maintaining not only the common elements, but when there is an emergency or something to serve the common property, that they must enter the unit and take what action needs to be done, which is to every unit owner's benefit that they do that. When they do not have a key that works, that is a violation of the owner's obligation to the association, which is a violation of the owner's obligation to all the other owners. And when they don't have that key, or have a key that functions, which is the equivalent of not having a key, you place the entire property at risk of further damage, expense, and overhead on your maintenance staff trying to tend to whatever it is that needs to be attended, whether it's an overrunning toilet, an overrunning dishwasher, whatever it is. And so under the Condominium Act, which provided for the creation of this condominium through the declaration, and you also have your bylaws and your articles of incorporation and your rules and regulations. Under all of those documents, which are made available to all of you as public record, as well as on the association website, what the structure is that the owner must provide to the association the passkey. And then the association has obligations to fulfill. If the owner does not provide that key, the association is authorized to make forcible entry, which it does not want to do. But it cannot and will not engage in self-help remedies. The only other remedy it has, if those keys are not provided, is to seek recourse against the unit owner, because that's who it has a relationship with. Your association has a relationship with you, not with any other third party, not with your tenant. They must come back to you to deal with these issues. And so then it becomes, all that they can do is either seek recovery of the expenses against you, as Rick talked to you about, and or file a lawsuit against you for enforcement, which they do not want to do. This association has been pretty creative and dynamic in attempting to avoid that, but that's where this issue comes down, and it's a very important issue. It's not a complicated issue, and I've represented associations as well as unit owners for the last 22 years. Sometimes it can be a very expensive issue. It shouldn't have to be, as long as everyone will make those arrangements and make sure when your lock is changed that that association gets the permanent pass key or a permanent hard key for your unit. It's to your best interest. It saves you money, it saves time, it saves hassle. And I'll be glad to take any questions about any of the rules, regulations, or what that issue is. But that's where the association is left when they do not have a pass key to the unit. Does anyone have any questions about their obligation to provide a key? Yes, sir.
If someone, like you said, doesn't have, you don't have the key, we break into their glass, they're liable, so we can get in and stop them while that tenant is liable for that glass that we break to get in?
Yes. Well, not the tenant, the unit owner, because
The
the
unit owner,
association.
yeah, the unit owner is liable.
The association must come back to its unit owner, who is its member, who they have the relationship with.
Can you explain, why would someone not give y'all the key?
I cannot explain that to
understand
you.
that.
That would be a discussion between your owners. Yes, ma'am.
I'm new owner, and this is new to me, and I'm glad I'm here, because Brett Robinson manages my property for me. And I was under the impression that they had readily available keys, but evidently that's not the case.
Well, a readily available key versus you furnishing your association with a key that they have in their possession that works.
They want it in their possession.
You are obligated to provide the association with the key. The association shouldn't have to track somebody down to find a key.
I hear that, I understand. Do they make master pass keys for those locks?
If you have a CABA lock, you can be provide a master card key for your lock, which is what we request.
Okay.
And where the keys commonly kept and are they safe?
Yes. I want to address one little thing real quick. The CABA lock is that punch code with a hard key, additional override at the bottom. The Onity lock is that hotel card style lock that's been on the property from the beginning. So when you hear the word Onity, that's the card key. CABA is the digital. All right, your keys that we have are stored in a combination safe on the wall. The only ones that have that combination are the board of directors, our security, and our property staff, which is Eli and Ashley. They're the ones that's going to have to go in a unit if we got an issue. They're the ones that carry the pest control around every time the pest control comes to spray your unit. In order to get to the safe in the office, you got to know the code to get into the office. They are more secure than they have ever been And so with that said, you shouldn't be worrying about who has access to your keys. And again, our security and our staff does not like going in your unit, so they always take a second person with them as a witness.
And that's, I think we just need to bring that, let everybody know that those are protected and they're safe.
Yeah.
And not just giving out to whoever walks in and
Right.
hanging on the boards.
Right. It's a protocol that we follow. We firmly stress, do not go in a unit of an owner unless there's a legitimate reason to do so. Most of the time, they contact me first. I know, it's like everybody's been alluding to, we are so hands-on, we're very aware most of the time what's going on in this property at any given time throughout the day.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, when we bought 3 years ago, our key, Michael, the previous property manager, had a master to ours, because there were only 3. So I guess you
What
guys
unit number
don't have
again?
any more, because our number's up there.
What unit is it?
2611.
Was it an oddity?
So we haven't had any,
Was it the card key or was it
No,
that?
no, it's the master key.
When you guys sent out the notice about the, the cobble lock with the, the punch code, we had it changed out and personally gave Michael Roberts the key to our lock.
Well, then yours may be, that list may be up there in error. I'll check that after the meeting. This was what
Yeah,
Eli
just-
gave me
so
that
we
he didn't
haven't
have.
had any bugs. I'm just wondering about all that,
It may be up there.
because he's
After
been
the
gone
meeting-
for a little while.
Right, after the meeting, I'll verify that we
Okay,
have your
thank
key.
you.
If you gave it, we probably have it.
Yes.
That list may be, that may be an error on that list.
And if you know someone whose unit number is on the board who's not here, please pass this along. It's a very basic, but a very important issue that you don't want your administrative staff spending an extraordinary amount of time on, because when they're doing that, they're not doing the other jobs, which is in turn not nearly as efficient or effective in their day-to-day management of the property.
We already had the deadbolt keys, right, when you took over the front desk. I mean, the deadbolt keys you have with everybody, is this reference to the deadbolt keys or to the cobble lock?
We don't have to have the deadbolt keys, unless you're one of those that locks your deadbolt in addition to your other door. I don't know if anybody that does it, we may have somebody. This is the main doorknob to get in. I would say 90%, unless you're in there, your deadbolt's probably not locked.
Well, I mean, I've been in the hotel business a long time too, and I know that deadbolt key is, that's your safest way to lock that door.
Right, but I'm just telling you, we don't have deadbolt keys.
Well, then I think you're leaving a hole in your theory here, because if the deadbolt's on, I mean, I know mine was here one night because I was out of town and had to get them in security, was able to get that deadbolt key and get in there. But at one time, I know all the deadbolt keys were here. That was, has always been a requirement in the Brett Robinson condos. Now everybody's got different sort of locks, but it seems like to me, you're leaving a big hole here.
Hey, I'm with you, Ray.
People leave town, if you're an owner, okay, and your belongings are in there, I'm not a renter, and if I leave town for 10 days, I'm deadbolting my door, okay? And if you don't have keys to those, then you're not where you think you are.
Whatever key is necessary to access the entry door of the unit should be provided to the association.
I think
If
that
it's
needs to
two
be made
keys,
very clear,
it needs
because
to be
you're
two.
not going, the deadbolt's the hardest one to get open. And if I were an owner, I would never leave town for a week and not deadbolt my door. I can't believe I'm the only one that uses the deadbolts.
I didn't even know I had a key to it.
Well, that's the thing too. A lot of people don't use the deadbolts, and when we asked Brett Robinson to turn over all keys they had, some keys we got, some keys we didn't. Our main thing is let's just get in the door. We have not pressed on the deadbolts, but yeah, we do. We need deadbolts, yes.
If you need a copy made to your master key to give to them, to your deadbolt key, Webb's Hardware makes keys right across the street, $2.09, and you can give them a master key. Sorry,
Problem solved.
I agree.
You got a locksmith on?
I agree with your point. That's what I'm saying, I agree with you.
On the Cava keys, which, we went to, it's wonderful. You can program it from your iPhone. Can you get with the locksmith that as they progress, that master key and have it keyed to a true master, so that that was one of the problems I had. Y'all have my key, where we end up with one key, because Cabo only wants to give you two. Now, there is a way around them, but don't worry about that. But if the association went back to Locksmith and asked Cabo to put a single master, then you would have a key that every Cabo lock that you hit. Now, that's also under the National Fire Prevention Act.
That would be wonderful, but unfortunately, these locks are not expressly common elements, so the association does not have the power to mandate a series of particular locks, and so that's unfortunate for this property, but that's the way it is.
It's only the core. You're not changing anything else.
Yeah, but this association can't go to CAVA to get a master key to locks it does not own.
No, but what I'm saying is, as we progress further, not everybody has a CAVA lock yet. But even if you change those and get them where, let's assume that the next unit has a CAVA, it's on the new master.
That would be wonderful if the association body as a whole would agree to do that and do it, but your association can't impose that upon you. All
No,
you
they
can
have
do-
to do it as a board resolution, and then they have to ask the owners for ultimate permission.
Right, that has to come from the ownership forward, because as it sits right now, what this board can do is controlled by those documents.
Right.
And all it can do right now is accept that passkey from you and mandate that you provide it. And if you don't provide it, take action against you when there's damages and or sue you to make you provide it, which they have no desire to do. It doesn't make any sense. They ought to be able to get keys that work, which is to every owner's benefit equally.
Okay, and speaking on keys at work and speaking to the resolution, yesterday the board of directors met, and in light of evidence that we discovered in our discovery documents that this hotel Onity card key, the company that they use in Atlanta went out of business. They don't have the technical support, software updates. We've determined that these locks are unsafe and a detriment to the property, so we made a resolution yesterday that they must be removed from your door. You have to December the 15th to do it. The only approved lock on the property is now the CAVA or E-code, which all of you that have the CAVA lock, you're in compliance. But these locks we've deemed as a detriment to the property because they will deny you access if that card key does not read properly. We have no way of verifying if we get a card key from Brett Robinson that it's an unlimited date. They can program whatever they want on it. It will work one time, it will not work the second time. They will say, well, you must put it in your cell phone, you deactivated it. We can't have keys that have that ability. So the board's just decided that in light of the discovery documents, it's in the best interest of the association and this property to have those locks removed. And we will be putting that notice in the elevator. And if you can't afford to have that lock, we will do it for you. We will put it on your account. We will give you a number of months to make installment payments on it so that you'll be in compliance.
You said there were two. I talked to Ambrose and he said you didn't have to use CAVA, you could do something else.
Well, the CAVA code is the only approved lock that we're putting on here because it maintains uniformity on the property. And also, now, we've authorized yours, it's a CAVA on that code, because as long as we have a hard key override, we do not want your combination. 2 reasons. If you have the software, that combination only lasts for a year. Even for yourself, you have to update your own. I don't want a combination where someone has got the ability to remember it and share it. That to me is too much responsibility that the association does not want. We want a hard key that we can go and pull out of the safe, go to your unit and have the open with the key. I don't want a combination. I don't want the responsibility of it. I don't want anybody else that works for us to have your combination. Joe?
What about pets? I mean, you know, we've got pets in our unit, and on top of that, we had given Michael had 2 keys to our unit, but we can seem to find them.
Well, we changed yours, remember? And gave you
No, the key itself was never changed.
the core.
Yeah,
You talking about your CAVA lock?
yeah, it was never changed, and there were 2 keys down there with Michael.
Is your unit on that board?
Yeah.
See me after the meeting.
Well,
But what about the pets, is what I'm
Okay, about the pets and stuff,
You gonna be responsible for that? You let our dog or cat out?
we ain't letting Shay out, she's too hard to catch. Now, like, if y'all got problems, like Ray's got a problem with somebody going in his unit, he don't want anybody in his unit, we don't want to go in his unit. We got Shay in there, the dog, you know, if you don't want pest control, you can do your own pest control. That's the only reason we're going in your unit in the first place, unless you've got water pouring through somebody's ceiling, or water's coming into your unit, we gotta go fix it. We're not gonna let the pets out, but we're gonna try to contact you first. There is a protocol in place, but we don't wanna go in your unit. And we're not going in your unit unless there's a legitimate reason to do so. We are very aware of who's got pets, and we pretty much know the personalities of everybody's dog. So we kind of factor all that in when we make a decision. So, you know, I just need to be comfortable with that idea, because we don't have people in a revolving door on this property. We have, Quentin has been here since the beginning. We've got Al. These are all full-time security, extremely reliable people. We got Ashley, we got Eli. These people know y'all.
And when the exterminators come, the woman comes by herself. No, it's a guy now. Anyway, she used to come by herself, so there's never anybody there.
Well,
You just
no.
Come right on in.
No, we don't do that. We don't give them the keys. That's under the old thing. They would just go along and do that. We don't do that.
There's a staff member with the exterminator when they enter units, under the current policy.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, I mean, I want to go back to my point, because I think, I'll ask the attorney this question. I'm telling you right now that people here have deadbolt keys, and we're not even, at one time, back if you bought a new unit, I mean, I've lived in multiple Brett Robinson units, the front desk, there was always, every unit had a deadbolt key at that front desk that was under lock and key, in case someone had to get in or do whatever. You got one, and they got one. And here, all these doors, you know, for the exception, have deadbolts on them. And at some point, there were keys here at the front desk for all of those deadbolts, because they had a key to my unit, I know. And I'm pretty sure they still must somewhere, because the one time I had to get in, Quentin was able to get a deadbolt key to get into my unit. So it's a question for the attorney. I mean, if I'm sitting here telling you that, and all we're doing is dealing with the electronic lock, we're not relieving ourselves of the liability. Is that right?
There's a lock on that door. It's the unit owner's responsibility to make sure the association has a key to it.
I think it needs to be very clear, because y'all, and somewhere, where are the keys that were behind the desk at one time that were those keys?
We have a lot of those keys, right? In fact, Jessica had to make them give us our keys. They gave us a box of loose keys. We had to go and find out what those keys fit. We have a lot of the deadbolt locks in the safe with your unit. I don't know which ones work, which ones don't, but if they're on there, they work. So who else is that's maybe missing a deadbolt? We have not made that list.
I would think that would be important to do, because
It is.
otherwise we're not getting where you're trying to get.
It is important.
Any more discussion about the keys? Does everybody understand why we need them?
Pam, so if I'm in the same situation as these owners back here, Michael having my key, and I don't know what happened to it.
You only have a card key, Jane. You have a card lock.
No, I have a Kava.
You have a Kava?
I do.
And you gave him one of your
You don't
keys?
want the code, you want the actual
Lock. We don't want code, no.
So now, is that my expense
Yeah.
to have it drilled because you don't have my key?
So you're saying that you also gave Michael a key and we don't have it?
Michael,
The installer told us when he
Yes,
installed them
yes.
that he was
I
given
mean,
a key to the front desk. He was given that pass key. He said that was part of the deal. When he left your unit, he was going down there and giving that key to the front desk. Not the desk, with the cop.
They didn't do mine. They give me both keys and I give them a key.
All right, if you've got a Kava lock and you gave us the key, see me after the meeting. I need to verify that you should not be on that board, but to my knowledge, that means we don't have a lock. And if you gave us one, we will pay the expense of pouring it out, get a new key, and give you your keys. That's all I can say. I don't have anything else to add to that.
Pam, I'll ask one question. They put ours on when no one was here.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
You shouldn't be up there.
I'm not, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I got your key.
We've got to change our, that was the only one we can change it to.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all about uniformity on the property. Any more questions about keys? That's really been a hot topic. Of everything we've accomplished here, that is the one thing we have not been able to do. We get that behind us?
We're set.
Maybe a piece of cake. Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Don't run off.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna ask Jessica to stay here, and I'm gonna give everybody a few minutes to take a break, because what we're gonna get into is legal stuff next. And I'm gonna show you documents and facts to support why we say to you what we say and represent to you what we represent, because you have documents to support what we say. It's not a case of, well, I thought or I think. We've based what we say on facts and documents, and so we're going to show you some things that you're probably not aware of. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. If anybody wants to get some coffee, use the ladies and men's room, and be back here in 10 minutes.